Hello everyone and welcome to Beyond SEO with Growthack.io, where we look at what really drives growth for brands, from search and content to product, data and strategy. We dive into the ideas and conversations that go way beyond SEO. I'm Glenn and I'm joined by Kevin, and today we've got Luke Dalton from Contact Coffee.
Hello.
How are you, Luke?
Very well, thank you.
Really excited to be having you on today to essentially be discussing your journey from the Royal Marines to where you are now in marketing and also working within SEO. So it's a conversation that I think a lot of listeners are going to really enjoy. But before we get into the fun stuff, if you could give a brief introduction to yourself and your background.
Brief introduction. So I am Luke Dalton. I am a former Royal Marines Commando and former UK Special Forces, and I'm now an SEO specialist.
Awesome. One of the first things that me and Kevin wanted to ask you about in terms of your journey from being in the Royal Marines to where you are now is kind of like a personal question for me, because I always like to learn about people's journey from where they are now to how they started. So if you could give a bit of a kind of rundown from your time in the Royal Marines and what that transition was like from that period to getting into marketing. What was that like for you?
A big change, obviously.
I can imagine. Yeah.
bit of a career change, but so I did 10 years, and then around the sort of 6-year point, I deployed quite a lot of times within a short amount of time. So essentially got pulled out of after the deployments into a holding squadron, where I had quite a bit of time on my hands. I think I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spark inside, and then we discovered a coffee company whilst I was deployed, an American coffee company. Tried to buy it, realised that the costs for import and the cost just to generally get it was outrageous for a bag of coffee. So I looked for a UK alternative and there wasn't one. So that's where that spark went off again. I thought, I've got a little bit of time on my hands, let's look at potentially creating our own. So this was running alongside the remaining 4 years of my career as a bit of a side hustle side of things. When I actually decided to leave, the coffee company had actually doing okay. But it was never the plan or the idea to do it. So I was looking at what do I want to do when I leave, and then I had this basically in my hands. So then as I left, I just transitioned straight into the coffee company. Obviously jack of all trades, learning marketing as you go, learning websites as you go, learning the hard way, 90% failure, 10% success. And then along that journey, got really into marketing and had a bit of an opportunity to move into SEO. Right. So I sort of did both SEO and the coffee company as well. So that's where I sort of got into marketing naturally, and then had an opportunity, then really got into marketing as I was working as an SEO for the past 2.5 years.
Oh, that's great to hear. And I can imagine your time in the Royal Marines helped you build certain skills and mindsets that supported how you go about doing certain things, whether it's in business or in your personal life. What would you say those specific skills and mindsets during your time in the Royal Marines were that helped you kind of go about your day-to-day stuff, whether that's in digital marketing or just personal life?
Robustness, definitely. Will to not give up is probably key. When I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. I mean,
it's a fan. Deal with it. Yeah. Like plan A never works. Plan B never works. Plan C, you've got to always plan more than that. So just being a bit, you have to be a bit reactive. I think everyone says like be a bit more like, do you know what I mean, like sort of prepared and proactive and stuff. But yeah, you've got to be reactive to stuff. So I think just the landscape change is just being comfortable with that. It doesn't always go to plan. Just go the other route. And yeah, the mental robustness more than anything, and just not scared to get my hands dirty, I think is key. I think a lot of people try and work on strategy and stuff, and they've got this massive plan, and then when it actually comes to doing it, they sort of don't really want to get their hands dirty and do it, or they look at sort of trying to outsource stuff. But I'm not scared to work on a strategy, and I'm not scared to sit 8 hours behind a spreadsheet banging out 160 meta descriptions and stuff. So yeah, a bit of just being willing to do everything, just getting your hands dirty, I think.
Yeah, that's a really important point on the robustness, because you can make all the strategies that you want when it comes to SEO or any other marketing channel, but there's always going to be unforeseen variables that you have to take into account that might have you rethink your strategy. Yeah. So being able to kind of pivot as and when is really, really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, especially when the landscape changes as well, like you said, especially in marketing, what works for a year can change overnight when Google decides that they're just going to change the rules, and just being able to adapt to that and just not dwell on it and sort of moan around about it, is just getting on with it and just dealing with it.
Yeah, definitely. The way I like to think about it, the market changes and you have to play defense. Sometimes you play an offense, and you know, some competitor that you've never heard about starts outranking you for certain things, and you kind of have to switch up your strategy. And yeah, it's great having you on here, and yeah, appreciate your service as well. Just want to say that. Yeah. How have you found, I guess, just that mindset shift? Like, I think it's such an interesting journey. You know, that being in the Marines, I'm sure it's a high pressure environment, and then now you're sat behind a spreadsheet. Is that
yeah, that's why I was saying, Chris.
It's such a huge in terms of careers, it's a huge gap. Like, how have you found the transition? Do you miss being active, or I'm just trying to understand that, because
that's why I was so curious about that transition.
I probably echo a lot of sort of veterans. It is hard. It's not as easy. It was fine when I first left. It was fine. It was all roses, and then it comes out of nowhere. Sort of 2 years out of line, it just goes. It hits you like a ton of bricks, and you're like, "Shit, this is me now." I think you have a bit of a massive struggle with your character and like what you are, because you were always somebody. You just had like a label. You had like decent job title, and then it's quite hard to explain this to civilians. I don't mean this in like a derogatory way, but you just become just a normal person. And that's quite hard to deal with, going from a high pressure environment, like you said, and pretty cool job and doing all this sort of exciting stuff. I've gone from some days jumping out of airplanes, like running around Afghan, and then, like you said, the next minute I'm sort of staring at a spreadsheet, and I've got someone having a go at me because the rankings are dropped, and I'm just like, fuck this, I just want to go back. It was actually easier doing that stuff than it was trying to keep a certain client happy. The transition is hard, and it's not overnight, and it creeps back. I'm not going to lie, it does creep back from time to time, and you sort of have to go, right, okay, no, that was fun, that was part of my life. I did that, and I'm happy with that, and I've took a lot from it. But that's that chapter, so to speak, without sounding too corny. But keep tapping into it, taking the positives from it. How can I utilise that experience and the stuff that I've learned there into this new role? Yeah. Like I said, when we spoke about it before, I think just like that mental robustness, resilience, the planning, and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of positives I can take from it.
Yeah. I guess it puts things in perspective, when somebody is complaining about something and you're thinking, well, that's a really small problem that you have compared to actual real problems out there in the world. So it's I think it's a good mindset, that resilience that you've built up over time. I'm sure it helps you with a lot of different scenarios.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
definitely,
100%. And just touching on the experiences before getting to Contact Coffee, you basically said you've done a lot of stuff during your time in the Royal Marines. And how have those experiences kind of shaped how you go about your marketing activities now?
Definitely the planning. There's a lot of planning involved in the military, especially when you're going out on operations and stuff like that. Even if it's a small task, the planning will go on for days. You'd have orders before. You could go through orders, like 3-hour order process, and you're literally going out the door, doing a task, coming back, and it's 2 hours. But like I said, anything can change. We went out the door and was expected to be to relieve a call sign for 6 hours. We ended up being there 7 days over Christmas. So being, like going back to before, just being aware that things can change. But going back to answer your question properly, is probably the planning of it, which is down to your strategy really, is having that plan set out and a lot of different colours, like course of actions. So if that doesn't work, then what's plan B? If that doesn't work, what's plan C? And then being aware of all the other things that you've got, like the uncontrollables. If this happens, what are we going to do? So actions on as well. So I think planning is the main thing.
Yeah. Are there certain frameworks or certain things that you've learned from that experience that you kind of apply now? Just out of curiosity.
So it's quite, again, the orders process, you go through every single stage. So you'll go through like operations, you go through like communications, you go through med. Is probably not going to need med in this, but you go through every single stage. So as long as you cover that basis, so we sort of look at things going through that order process. So from top to bottom, people, what's everyone's roles, so everyone knows the roles that's doing it, and then everyone knows each other's roles. Because if something happens to them, then obviously someone else can step in and carry on with the work, which obviously falls down a lot, especially when you look at agencies. Someone can fall ill for 2 weeks, and then everyone's like, "Oh, what did he actually do?" I don't know. And then you're trying to find his passwords, you're trying to work out his emails, and you just like, it makes sense to you, but to everyone else it doesn't. So that's the key one. Like, where does he keep all his kit and all this sort of stuff? So just knowing what everyone does, and then knowing what's exactly going to happen, and then for each scenario as well. So I think the planning and the framework from the military is quite good.
Yeah. No, it's definitely useful to know for sure. And now looking at Contact Coffee. So you started this in 2016?
Correct, yeah.
And obviously it's now become the UK's #1 coffee company for military.
Yeah.
And when I was having a look into it, it's really, really interesting. And I wanted to ask, in terms of starting that, what was the journey like and what inspired you to kickstart the Contact Coffee company?
So going back from the start, when I was in Afghan, I came across, we were working with some Americans, and they had an American coffee company, like military coffee company. And again, I really liked it, liked what it was about, went to buy it, but it was ridiculous cash. So I looked for a UK supplier first, couldn't find one. And then thought, there must be a UK brand. And that's where we saw the opportunity. There wasn't one, so we created our own. How that started was just starting an Instagram. Potentially no business acronym, no marketing knowledge, nothing. Just started an Instagram page, and it accidentally developed into a business. Again, obviously in hindsight, going back, if I knew what I knew now, I'd do things totally different. But yeah, we just winged it, just absolutely blagged it. Managed to find a supplier for the coffee, t-shirts, and it just sort of developed and rolled into a business. So just sort of made it up as we went along, learnt the hard way, a lot of Googling, a lot of just working things out. No AI back in my day, but just sort of just made it happen and accidentally created a business really. So it was never, I think that was the fun thing about it. There was no pressure. Yeah. Like if you'll sit around the table, come up with a business idea, there's pressure on it straight away. You're going to set up the plan. But there was no business plan. There still isn't. We haven't had a business plan for 10 years. Yeah. We've just rolled with it, which I think is quite nice in a way. Things develop a bit more slowly. I think people are there's a lot of pressure on brands to sort of hit your targets at certain years, and you're like, right, this is where we need to be. I want to open the doors. And like with gyms now, a lot of these gyms are opening the doors and then the finished product. Yeah. I mean, it's all showing they've got every single bit of kit. But going back to one of my best mates, when they opened the gym, they had like 6 pieces of equipment, a couple of dumbbells, and then to the gym that they are now, they've progressed through that. And I think that's what legacy is. I think too many people now are just trying to open the doors with a finished product. It's not fun as a founder or an owner, because where do you go from there? And then obviously you just want to grow and develop, and that's where you're going to get your core customers as well. We've got customers that have been with us from the start, like customers that have been with us sort of 8-10 years. So I feel like newer brands and companies don't get that.
Yeah, it's like striking that balance really, because at the same time you want to build something organic. Yeah. But at the same time you have to understand that whether if you've got financial backing from an investor, there's like certain KPIs that you need to hit or certain goals that you have to achieve. And obviously when you're explaining your time and period building Contact Coffee Company, having that organic kind of put together on top of the, I suppose, KPIs, how would you say advise a business or brand that's trying to say build organically or build something special in their eyes, whilst at the same time they have to think about KPIs, say from external investors, or if they've got their own internal kind of KPIs? How do you go about building that balance?
I've never been in a position of that, so it's hard for me to comment on that, because I wouldn't really know. I haven't really felt that pressure from externals or external cash. Like I said, we've always been self-funded. 850 quid is what we started with, and it still owes me 850 quid to be fair. But yeah, so I wouldn't really be able to comment from that, but I imagine, again, from when I worked in the agency, from the SEO side of view, and when people are paying for a service or paying into an investment, they're on your shoulders, aren't they, straight a lot. So I think probably setting those KPIs out straight away is key. Yeah. Because if people's money is involved, they're on you straight away, and you can talk through it and be like, okay, this is the plan, this is a 12-month plan, we'll have a monthly meeting and stuff. But as soon as the graphs start to drop and stuff, they're sort of on you. So I think just manage the expectations, I think, as well. And don't always under promise, over deliver.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that statement.
Yeah.
And just going back to, you know, your process, I think a lot of people, you know, we've had this conversation a number of times. Well, I've had it with different people. I think it's quite rare nowadays. Like people aren't, they don't love the grind. They don't love the process, perfecting your craft, taking your time with it. They always focus on the end goal, and maybe that's a reflection of society as it stands at the moment, where we just want the final result. But there's that ugly period where you kind of have to grow, grow into something.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice that you've had that time and you've been able to be self-funded and just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing that you've enjoyed? Just having a business. What is the highlight, would you say?
I think it's the grind, like you said, like the development. I mean, there's that trend recently when everyone's posted stuff from 2016, and it worked perfect for us because we started in 2016. So I was like running around together and I saw that. So, trying to find the old photos, but yeah, looking at that first packaging, I mean, it's cringy. Do you know what I mean? It's like looking at a picture of you back in school. Like you're looking at it, you're like, fuck, what were we thinking there? That's terrible. So yeah, I think just the development of it, and even looking back 3 years, and you look at going way back, look at the start of your website, look at the content you were pushing out, and just seeing that journey. And again, that sounds cheesy, and everyone says, "Oh, enjoying the journey" and stuff like that. But it's part of that. Like I said, if you open the door with a finished product and you've got the perfect packaging, obviously at the time you think it's perfect, but yeah, there's no excitement in that. I don't think if you're just trying to, it's the rawness of opening it, like the rawness of a startup. You're jack of all trades. You're making mistakes. Like I said, 90% of the stuff I've done is mistakes. The 10% stuff, when it actually works, you're like, oh, that's quite rewarding. So yeah, it's rewarding working on stuff yourself and not having external people or people on your shoulder trying to call the shots. We can do what we want when we want, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's why no matter what you start, like on top of, if it is something that you enjoy, over time there may be periods where, it's a little bit of a grind, like what you said. Yeah. And sometimes you just need to hunker down and just, get things done. Yeah. And, the kind of like the desire or the enjoyment of it kind of takes the wayside. So being able to have that ability to kind of crack on with things, that's really, really important. Yeah. And you got me thinking about one of the stuff that you put together on LinkedIn called SEO for Veterans. I wanted to ask about specifically SEO in terms of building like a mission-led approach. How would you go about putting together, I suppose, a mission-led SEO approach for, I suppose, an e-commerce brand or just an SEO strategy in general for a specific brand?
That's a good question.
Because I can imagine there's so many kind of ways to go about it.
Well, I'm going to use the usual, well, it depends. that covers me for whatever I'm about to say. I think, again, everything's going to be different. I think every e-commerce is different. Like the product leads the strategy, I think. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is going to be different. But I think just nailing your product first, I think getting everything in place prior to launching. One of the biggest headaches in e-commerce is not really so much the website, the SEO, it's like the supply chain, and that's where the headaches are. The website and stuff is like the easy bit, it's the fun bit. The annoying bit and the hard work is running out of stock, is stuff not coming on time, is fulfillment is probably the worst part of an e-commerce brand. So just getting all your ducks in the line, I think, prior to the strategy, and then you can work on that strategy. But yeah, I think it really differentiates between what product you're selling e-commerce wise. Yeah. Probably not the best answer or the answer you're looking for, but
just curious on that. Did you find the mission was quite easy because you got a good product market fit? I'm guessing a lot of veterans need coffee, and coffee is something that they rely on the job. So it's something that they're used to taking. Is it quite common for people in the military or the Marines to have coffee on a daily basis? So it was quite easy to have that audience and then create the mission behind that.
Yeah, so the coffee thing is quite a big thing. So again, one of the reasons why we started was obviously the whole conversations over coffee. So we'd always, going back to first tour of Afghan, one of the things, if we'd been out on patrol all day or been doing tasks, we'd always sort of congregate within the PB and sort of make coffee and sort of sit down, and didn't have TVs obviously, not much to do. A bit of gym equipment and stuff, but yeah, you'd sort of naturally just congregate around, sit around, have a coffee. Lads would get coffee sent out from home, or if they'd been on R&R, they'd bring it back out. And you'd sit there and you'd talk about coffee, and same as with anything with the mental health stuff now. It's the minute you sit down and stick a cup in front of someone, it's just like, do you know what I mean? Your shoulders relax. You can just, you're in a relaxed state. You can open up, you can talk. So, do you know what I mean? Cried over coffee, laughed over coffee, argued over coffee. it's that time where you can just sit down and sort of reflect on things. And especially as men now, that doesn't happen. And especially you put yourself in those high pressure environments where, in theory, everyone needs to be a stereotypical man in that environment. But that time then, that hour on an evening, just allows everyone just to sort of relax a little bit, let the guard down a bit, have that hour around coffee, and then right, it's game time, back into what we've got to do. So it's a really important thing within the military, that. So that's one thing why it was so popular. Just on that as well, we do a campaign called Give a Shit, Give a Coffee. Essentially, we give a free coffee with every single order. And the idea is that coffee isn't for the person who's bought it. The idea is that they have to pay it forward and give it to someone else. Mm-hmm. So it comes with a little leaflet. It basically says, just to let you know, I'll give a shit. So I'm giving you a coffee. Just that nice little pick me up.
Name.
Yeah. It's that nice little pick me up. They can sit there, they can drink it together, or it's just slip it through someone's letterbox and just be like, someone who's having a bit of a hard time. So yeah, I think that coming together of coffee is really important. And then going into sort of like the fitness side of things, using coffee as like a pre-workout or coffee before you go out. And obviously coffee when it's chucking it down with rain and you're in Norway and it's -40 and it's snowing. That coffee is it's known as a morale booster.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite important. It's quite important within the military. So I think that's why it does so well and it's so sort of popular.
Yeah, it's something that we take for granted as civilians. You know, we don't really realize the benefits of everyday things. I guess when you're in a harsher environment, you start to really appreciate those little things. So that's quite insightful. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The only way I can relate to this is when I watch Survivor. And obviously, I'm a big fan of that. And then putting in an environment, these are normal people put in an environment, and then you start to realize all these little things that they appreciate, all the treats that they get, like, oh yeah, it's pizza, whatever. And then, you know, they're really appreciating that pizza. So I guess that's the way I can kind of relate to it.
Yeah. No, it's just the small things that you take for granted is like pure morale. Yeah. You'd be shocked what's morale when you've not had something nice for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, a nice coffee goes a long way.
Yeah. That's really insightful. And just going on the brand, obviously, like what you said, going back to, you know, Contact Comfy Company. If a brand is looking to be a bit more strategic with building their brand, based on your experience with the kind of businesses and brands that you've worked with, what separates a brand that's reactive from a brand that I suppose is proactive and prepared for specific changes in their industry?
I think, so going from a social media point of view, like you've got to be really reactive with that. And I think if you're 6 hours late, then you've missed the boat. I think social media is, and it's the one thing that I don't really like now is social media, because I feel like you get pulled into it, and like you said, that plan that you can make that 12-year plan, but then things change because a TikToker decides to create a certain thing, and then you're like, oh, I've got to do this now, and yeah, so you've got to be reactive on that. Definitely be reactive on social. But yeah, I think just being true to yourself and just sticking to what you're about. Like I said, we've probably tried to go off other avenues a few times. We've tried to tap into the outdoor market a little bit. We might have tried to tap somewhere else, but I think you've just got to stick to what you're about and stick to your core values as well. I think that goes a long way, and that's what's going to keep your legacy. That's what's going to keep your customers, and they're always going to want to try and buy from you as well.
Yeah. How have you found that process managing social media? Because it's such a intense job. I'm having to do it myself for Growthack, and it's something I constantly think, oh, I'm spending too much time on this. Yeah. Is that something that you outsource, or do you still handle it personally?
Yeah, so that was our main driver from the start, because obviously that's how we started. We started with an Instagram page before we even had a website, and that's how we grew our business really on social media. But I think the landscape changes so quick now. Like, it is a full-time job, and you need someone on it. It's probably something, since I've got into SEO, I've probably concentrated my efforts more on SEO and the website and conversion rate optimization more, as opposed to the Instagram side of things. But I should be outsourcing it, I think, by now. But if I'm honest, we actually post less, and it hasn't really changed much. So as always, for years, we tried to post every day, across multiple platforms, but I think I'm posting once a week now, and a few sort of secondhand stuff on stories. But email marketing, that's where all my efforts are now as well. So I think socials there, you've got to be seen to be on socials. And I think it all depends on the brand as well. We need to be seen because there's quite a lot of veteran companies and a lot of veterans on social media, military spouses. It's quite a bigger catchment than people think. People say we're quite niche, which we are, but there's a lot of customers out there. So I think you've got to be seen to be on there. But again, I think it depends on what your product is. I mean, supplements and electrolytes is a new buzzword now, isn't it? So I'm in there. That must be intense.
Yeah, I feel like depending on the specific niche that you're in, like what you're saying, the supplements and that specific niche, and also what you're involved in as well, it feels like you almost have to be on social media, because that's where a predominant amount of your customer base is going to be residing. So if you're not there, it's kind of like you're missing a market there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, email marketing, it's old school. It's always been there, but I value email marketing over social, to be honest. And our results are a lot better from email marketing.
Yeah, it's an underrated channel. I started my career in email marketing 10 years ago in 2016. And it's so powerful. And I really love the thrill of the impact, because you're dealing directly with your customer base. There's no in between, there's no other channels that can interrupt that journey. You're speaking directly to them. And then you can see the impact of what you say, your messaging. You can test different things, A/B tests, etc. So it's a beautiful platform.
The intent there's higher as well, like social media. And we've had I don't know what's classed as viral now, but we've had a few viral reels where it's got over 500k. But there definitely wasn't 500k visitors on the website. We definitely didn't make anywhere near 500k on the day it went out, and it's still performing now 2 months later.
Right.
But an email you can send out to a decent category of people can make you sort of like 500 quid within an hour. That performed better than this reel. So I think it's hard when you're on social media, you're just talking to people. The intent's not there. They're browsing. They're just cutting about Instagram. But I think with email, they've shown intent because they've signed up. 9 times out of 10, they've probably bought from you already. So it's easier to market towards them than it is to sort of talking out loud into social media. And the time and effort it's taken to create that content compared to pulling an email together, which you've actually got data for. No brainer for me.
Sometimes that reach doesn't really equate to much, really. No. I mean, it's great in terms of like, a vanity metric, but if it's not essentially like helping towards ROI, then it's kind of like, it's nice to look at and it's great. You've got like a viral moment, and I suppose it can support just additional followers, which may have not been familiar with you, but sometimes it's not the equation with ROI as a lot of people may think. So.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think you do see some go viral, and that makes some companies. They just have that one little TikTok that just manages to fly off, and they do really well. I like seeing them stories, but it's never happened to us. So I'm not going to waste time on it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. We were talking about this as well. We are seeing this trend where a lot of supplement brands are using influencers across social media. And there's always that balance between trying to get that ROI from that investment. And a lot of that isn't an immediate return. So something like email, which is probably the closest channel to the customer, versus an influencer, which may be a few channels removed from somebody making a purchase. Is that balance, isn't there? And do you think you'd ever use influencers as part of your campaigns, or prominent people who are ex-military or ex-Marines? Yeah,
so we've done a little bit over the years. We did a campaign about 2 years ago where we targeted micro influencers. So been doing a little bit of research on it, and then we realised that the sort of influencers that had sort of around sort of 10,000, if not less, had a lot more engaging custom base around them, as opposed to the people that have got 300k, and people clearly know they're an influencer, and they obviously want the cash. They want, rightfully so, it's their job. So we targeted about 40 to 50 outdoor sort of micro influencers. Again, none of them were doing it for cash. It was sort of a hobby. They were trying to build a portfolio. Sent them free coffee. We stretched this out over like 3-4 week period, and we had really, really good returns on that. Again, there was a bit of a strategy behind it. It wasn't just an overnight thing. So it was sort of a 2 month sort of plan, and that worked really, really well. But yeah, we could have done the same with how much coffee we sent out. We could have paid one influencer sort of 500 grand for a few posts, and I'd argue it got no sort of reaction, no ROI. But again, it looks good. You can maybe use that content again. You can probably slap it on your website and stuff. But I think so as a smaller business, you're counting every penny in and out, so you really need to be like on the money. So yeah, the micro influencer strategy worked really well. So I recommend doing that.
Oh, that's really interesting. I suppose as well, if you wanted to carry on with that micro influencer strategy, I suppose it can be quite useful if you build that relationship with them early on before, say, one of them or most of them get big.
Yeah.
Then so that's
the thing, that they feel quite tied to you then.
Yeah.
Some of the people that we used, again, we sent them 1 or 2 coffees and they still post about us, and they've actually turned into customers. And they still post about us, so it's quite nice. Yeah. Yeah, they sort of respect you, and especially when they start as well. Yeah, it's a good strategy to do.
Yeah, that's really useful. And just going back to SEO, one of the questions I was thinking when you were bringing up building strategies and putting together a plan, from the, I suppose, brands that you've worked with from an SEO perspective, what would you say splits the, I suppose, brands that understand SEO from the ones who may have an unrealistic expectation of SEO? What have you seen in your experience is the difference between the two?
Expectations from the owners.
Yeah.
I think me having an understanding of SEO knows that I'm going to change something on the page, and then it's not going to be ranking first the day after. I think that's massive. I think that's the biggest headache as an SEO is people trying to explain that things do take time without saying, I'm just going to take your money for 9 months, but realistically, it takes time. Do you know what I mean? You do some work, you leave it, and then okay, well, I've done that. I'll put that to the side and then work on the next project and just keep an eye on it. So I think understanding SEO is key massively. I think that's one for people that you work with as well. I think as long as you set out early, like this is how SEO works, get them to understand the key fundamentals of it, and just know that it's a longer term strategy as opposed to sort of compared to PPC. So I think understanding is massive.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of my time when I first got into SEO, where that lack of communication in the early offset when you're working with the brand, especially if it's heavily owner led, if there's no clear communication in terms of this is what's going to be involved and the time frame, that's when there can be a bit of a miscommunication in relation to what's expected in a specific timeline. And if that's not communicated early on, that's when you can have situations where there's over expectations from the point of, oh, if paid is doing this, then surely SEO must be following suit as well at the same time frame. So yeah, that makes sense for sure.
I think I've been lucky to be on both sides. So I've been on an agency side where the business owner has been paying us and asking us. And then obviously as a business owner, I've outsourced certain stuff like email marketing for argument's sake. So I know what it's like both sides. So I know as a customer paying into digital marketing, I know what I want. I know when, I mean, if the emails aren't making money for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm getting itchy. And I know what it's like being on the other side where a business owner's been emailing me going, why aren't we ranking for this? So I try and utilize that for both sides. So I know that communication is key massively. If you're working with clients, is just keep in touch with them as much as you can, even if it's bad. And that goes back to the military as well. Integrity is massive. So just be open, honest, don't lie. But yeah, the integrity and openness of performance. As long as you communicate that, then 9 times out of 10, business owners will be quite happy with that.
I've always found it as well with the business owners, if it's their money, then there is going to be that additional financial pressure and more scrutiny around what's getting spent, who's managing my money, what return am I getting. But if it's, let's say, a marketing manager working with a bigger brand, there isn't so much that pressure because it's not their money. They're going to get paid a salary regardless. They're not worried about dividends and profits or what have you. So yeah, it's always interesting, like the person that you speak to and the type of pressure that you get with SEO. So yeah, and as a business owner, I'm sure you're watching the pennies every day.
yeah, trying to find them at the minute. If you're dealing with like the MDs, then yeah, they're on you straight away. And especially when you have those calls as well. They're sort of, okay, when are we going to start seeing results? Are we going to see any results in the first month, 2 months? Yeah. And you sort of have to stick at arm's reach and go like, this is how it is. But I think one of the key ones for me is if you sell it as a year as opposed to monthly, because if you're paying someone monthly, like if you're getting your car cleaned or whatever, if you're paying monthly, you're going to expect something straight away. Like every time you give that lad the cash to clean your car. Yeah. But if you pay a lad sort of £1,000 a year and say, clean my car every Saturday, do you know what I mean? They see it as that, and business owners think differently. As long as you can project that to them and they understand that, okay, like SEO is going to cost me 12 grand for a year, right? You do the SEO, I can carry on running my business. Then naturally they react a lot better to that.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And you obviously mentioned working agency side as well. From the times you've worked with a lot of different brands, have you ever seen situations where I suppose the SEO budget has been misaligned in certain parts, or times where you've seen SEO should be invested more into, but it's not? And the reason why I asked that question is because there's times in the past where I've seen certain brands I felt like they've had to invest more in SEO, but they're kind of diverting attention more towards paid, and it's becoming an unscalable strategy. So from your experience, have you seen those times where, a brand should start to invest in SEO? And if a brand is looking to start investing in SEO, when should they start to kind of consider putting more of their budget into SEO?
Yeah, I've seen a couple recently as well. Some people that have approached me for some work. I think SEO, it starts from when you're building the website. I think that's where probably the same as people come to you like, oh, we want to do SEO, and you have a look at the website and you're just like, you can tell like a developer's built the website, which is fine, but they're doing exactly what they've been told to do, build the website with no sort of input from SEO. So I think that's a massive starter. Is it needs SEO input from the start. Else, as an SEO, you're on the back foot straight away. You're looking at you like, I've got to start from scratch here. So I think it needs to be in the conversation from the start. Again, I think the business owners, they need to understand the longevity of SEO as opposed to PPC. You can turn PPC on, start making money within the first day, but SEO is like the longer term strategy. So I think it needs to be in the conversation from the start massively. And then if budgets are tight, I think some companies stick with SEO for a bit longer when they shouldn't. If budget's tight, then I think if you're going to turn something off, it can be SEO, because you can sort of ride the wave a few months without sort of tinkering about because of the work you've done prior, and keep that PPC. So yeah, I think understanding what your budgets are and being realistic is where they should be spent. But yeah, I've seen a few companies ride out where they've been struggling and then they're still investing in SEO. And me personally, I'll probably switch that off for a few months if budgets are tight, and just because you're going to get your ROI a bit better on PPC from an e-commerce point of view.
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose it's kind of like understanding that, like what you were saying before, as an e-commerce brand, a lot of the times, obviously, the ROI is going to be through paid activities first. And obviously, if you're in a position where you can start seeing an ROI, then you can look at other channels as well. But yeah, like what you said, fulfillment, orders, a lot of that stuff needs to be kind of paid for. Yeah. So if you want to look for a quick, I suppose, return on what you're spending from a marketing perspective in terms of campaigns, then obviously you can kind of look at paid as an immediate thing. Yeah. Then longer term, once you've kind of established a base, that's when you can look at SEO as well. So.
Yeah, and the websites as well. I mean, we've had people come up to us and say, yeah, we want to invest in SEO. And we're looking at it going, I'd spend the money on the website. Because you can do the SEO. I mean, you don't just want to take people's money, but you're looking at the state of their websites, you're like the website's not even performing. I mean, without going into too much detail into like UX and Crow, but yeah, we can get people to the website, but no one's going to convert because the website's terrible, the navigation's terrible. Like it was built 20, 30 years ago. So I think some agencies probably just obviously look at it and just take the money. And I think you just got to be honest and be like, look, go away, get a website built properly, or we'll build the website and then go into that. So I think advising them as to what the clear route is and what it should be, rather than just saying yes.
Yeah, because that could come back to bite you as well. Because you end up being in an awkward position where, say, things are a mess in terms of the actual project, and the owner, or if they've got a director or someone who's managing the agency and you're the agency, you can be in a tough spot where at the offset, like what you said, it would have been just best just saying no, not at this time. Then at least they can be appreciative of the honesty. and they can come back to you later down the line, as opposed to taking the offer now and kind of later down the line and being like, oh, what's going on here? So
yeah, it goes a long way. Like I said, the integrity. You probably saying get people reach out on LinkedIn and stuff. I'm happy just to give free advice and stuff like that, but it goes full circle, because I've given free advice out before and not really had anything back, and then 2-3 months later they've spoke to someone else and I've actually got them on for work as well. So just being honest, and like I said, it goes back to that integrity. There's no point in just lying. Might as well just be honest, and like I said, you can bite yourself in the arse, because if you say yes to it and you'll get results 12 months down the line, you're like, oh, why didn't you tell me on the website is rubbish there?
Yeah, it certainly comes back to honesty and setting those expectations. Some of the brands that we speak with, we tie that in with the pitch and say, okay, if you are going to work with us, you have to commit to getting a new site. Otherwise, this is going to be the expectation. You're not going to hit these goals if you don't get a new site, and then tie SEO into the plan from the beginning. Because, like you said, some of these websites are built by a developer, or they might have been in the early startup phase and they've not really considered a lot of things for scale, and you're just going to have all these roadblocks. So, a lot of the time when we speak with brands, we have to be really honest with them and say, okay, if you are going to work with you, yes, we can do these things in the first 3 months, but the long-term plan needs to be a new site. And this is how we'd help you with your new site. This is how we'd structure it. This is how we're going to help you reach your goals at the end of like 9, 12 months or whatever. And that's a much better approach than just taking their money and then 3 months down the line trying to have the conversation with them. Because then I think that would be really frustrating from the business owners.
Makes life easier for yourself as well. Like I said, you look at some of the sites and it takes you like an hour or something just to create a new page and stuff. And like I said, you just said yes to that deal at the start because you needed the cash flow. And now you're banging your head against the wall because it's taking you an hour just to put a H1 tag in and stuff. And make life as easy as you can.
Yeah, it makes the client calls a bit more anxious. It's like, oh, I have to come on this call 100%. And obviously we touched on the SEO stuff now, but if you're a business owner, what advice would you give to a business owner to ensure that they have SEO as a, I suppose, ideal and supportive growth channel? Say, for example, going back to what I was saying before, they've might have been doing paid for a long time, but they want to then integrate SEO into their marketing mix. What advice would you give to specifically business owners to integrate that into their approach?
Definitely understanding it first, knowing exactly what they're getting into. Because if you understand it, then you're gonna be more on board with it and understand that it is a longer term strategy. But I think bringing people in as well. I think outsourcing SEO is key. Obviously, everyone can go onto YouTube and do the basics and the fundamentals, but I think there's a lot of fundamentals you can do yourself if you teach pretty early on. But I think definitely outsourcing the SEO to someone knows, because you can spend time on loads of tasks that aren't really moving the needle, which I think most of us have done, and I did in the early years, chasing like meta descriptions and stuff, thinking I was actually going to make a difference. But I think outsourcing it is going to be the main one.
Yeah, you got me thinking of situations where I've seen like 60-point SEO checklists where you're basically checking like alt tags and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've definitely been there. I think, again, a few people that I follow on LinkedIn, it's like a bold, quite a fast strategy, but there might be issues there. There might be the aggressive sort of red crosses on certain platforms and stuff, but what's actually going to get you best bang for the buck? Like if someone's paying you £1,000 a month or whatever, then do they actually care about certain things like that? They just want to see investment straight away, the return on their investment straight away. So throwing out loads of category pages is probably going to get you a bigger return than fixing a few little technical things.
Yeah, it's these platforms, they don't make it easy for people who don't know much about SEO, don't have the experience in implementing and getting results. But after a few years of doing SEO, as a practitioner, you start to understand, okay, these are the things that are really going to move the needle. So just having that experienced person is key for sure. I've worked with so many different brands, and sometimes they work with previous agencies who were working on the checklist. You're thinking, okay, why do they spend so much time and money on a checklist when these are the 3 things that are really going to move the needle for them? And it's usually like 2 or 3 things. But somebody with experience needs to be able to say that with conviction and
Yeah.
and put their name on the line.
I think even having an SEO consultant is quite key.
Yeah.
Because some of these companies have got, they've got office staff, they've got a few people in, they've got people that are pretty au fait with like websites and quite technical. And they're probably going to get more from having a consultant. So having that monthly chat with a consultancy, just to say like, right, okay, getting that checklist stuff and going, right, there's 60 points here, ignore all them, do those 3, and then go and start doing this.
Exactly.
That's probably going to be a better option for some. And again, looking at the agency side, like with how much people pay, obviously you've got to pay a decent amount to get a decent return. If you're paying an agency a lower fee, you're not really getting much out of it. So yeah, maybe look at consultancy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's definitely key. I think a lot for businesses looking for an agency versus consultant, the price point and what you're gonna get out of it, and having a consultant with a lot of experience. That's how we started, and I find brands get a lot more value. And we worked with some brands who have worked with some big agencies, and the frustration on our side is that they may work with the agency, but they may not be working with somebody with a lot of experience. And that's why they're going through the checklist. That's why they're going through these templated workflows, which may not fit that brand. But somebody with experience can just come in and say, okay, listen, I've worked with these kind of brands before. This is exactly what you need to do. And, adjust the strategy according to what that brand needs. So yeah, there's that big gap, I feel. You need somebody who's a lot closer to the business, and 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a consultant.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, who cares more about the work rather than a big machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Santa's list, just like 60-point checklist.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that honesty aspect as well. Like, are you just kind of going through this list just to, I suppose, fill in time? Or are there actual genuine issues that actually help the site from an SEO perspective as well?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like being able to just look at the higher impact areas, essentially.
You're going to get the truth out of a consultant as well, because they're going to say it's good or it's bad. Yeah. They're not doing the work at the end of the day. They're giving you advice. And then when you speak to them 2 months down the line, and he's like, well, that's still crap. That's good. They're just there giving you an honest opinion, which is what you need from any consultant. Yeah, if you're paying someone to do all that, then you're probably not getting as much. Yeah, it might be a better option to look at consultancy.
Yeah. And looking at 2026, would you say there are any specific things in relation to e-commerce from an SEO perspective that owners or directors, or I suppose marketing people within specific teams need to take into account? Because I know there's obviously things like AI in the mix and everything like that. But from your experience, would you say there's anything different that needs to be considered when it comes to e-commerce from an SEO perspective?
I think category pages is the new one for me. That's something I'm learning. I've been learning for the past sort of 6 months, and I keep seeing repetitive on LinkedIn, a few people that I follow. And I've had a toy about with it, and I've done it for a few clients as well, and it works. So I think mass category creation is on my list. I've got spreadsheets, like some long tail, like some questionable long tail queries on there. But yeah, it seems to work at the minute. As for the AI thing, I think I'm just still doing the basics well. I think schema's the big one, obviously going into like HTML side of things. But yeah, still stick to what you're doing. But I think from the e-commerce point of view, I think collection pages it seems to be what's working.
Yeah, it's a tried and tested method. You can have a brand that's only got like 5 products, but you can create 20 categories based on what people are actually searching for, and maybe split those products into different categories, different ways, different ways that customers might be searching for certain things.
Yeah, I mean, Gymshark are really good at it. If anyone's sort of looking into trying to work out the best way to do it, if you look at Gymshark, how they category all of theirs, and the longer tail sort of yoga leggings, red yoga leggings, red long yoga leggings. Pick the worst colour to say then. But yeah, they're really, really good at it. So that's quite a good example if you want to look at like a big company that does it well.
Yeah, they're like, the go-to. I always have a little snoop around that website once in a while.
Yeah, they do things very well there.
They do, and they make a lot of money, so they must be doing things the right way.
Yeah. And one of the kind of final questions based on everything that we spoke about, what's the one key thing that listeners should take away from what you've just kind of run through in terms of like SEO, and also kind of mindset stuff as well from listening to this episode?
Definitely lock into SEO and see it as a longer term strategy rather than an overnight win. Be true to your brand or your company, and the world is a better place with you in it.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. We always like to ask a question towards the end of the episode regarding exciting stuff that you're working on. So, Luke, is there anything that you'd like to share that you're working on?
Yeah, I've got like a little blog piece in the background, but I'm just I use it as my test piece, just to experiment on. A little bit of AdSense, sort of some link building, trying to do a bit of affiliate. So I've been playing around with that, and that's sort of just grew arms and legs a little bit. So that's working from coffee shops. So a little blog that I'm just trying to play about with, trying to get into AI. That's performing pretty well. And on a personal level, just running ultras and trying to stay on my toes and try and beat aging.
Yeah, I've seen you post about that on LinkedIn, where you said you were ranking for the cost of a Costa cup of coffee or something, and you're outranking Costa.
Yeah, so I seem to have outranked sort of like Costa, Greg's, Starbucks, Blank Street Coffee, all this sort of stuff. And it's not, it is just a test piece. I can break it, I can just mess around with it, use AI. And the things that seem to be working is just basic stuff. Like I'm banging out sort of like 10 articles a day sometimes. And it's literally just simple answers, straight to the point, HTML table, bit of schema, FAQs, and that is it. I seem to be outranking all the big players. So I think it just shows that you don't need to over strategize things sometimes. You don't need to do keyword research for hours at a time. Obviously that has its place if you work on specific companies and specific services, but I think it just highlights that you don't need to overthink it sometimes. Just answer the question. Like, that's all people want. How much is a Costa? How much is a latte in Costa? That's the answer. Yeah. Some people try and overcomplicate things and go a bit too in depth.
Yeah.
So yeah,
with the vector embeddings and
So just answer the question, nice and sweet, above the fold. I think you'll win.
And also a lot of testing from what it sounds like you've been doing.
Yeah.
We're talking about that as well previously. Just like sometimes it's better to just test things as opposed to say trying to build like a clear plan in certain situations.
Yeah.
Because you get that real time feedback essentially, which from the way you've been explaining it sounds like you've been doing a lot of playing about, seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
I think as an SEO, I think every SEO should have not so much a side hustle, but a side project just to play about with. The only reason I started that blog was because I was a year into my SEO career and I didn't want to test things out on my clients because obviously the pressures. You know what I mean? So I started the blog as just a thing on an evening just to test things like use AI, don't use AI, buy some dodgy backlinks, don't buy some dodgy backlinks, see how many links work and just play about with it. And it sort of started to grow into it. And I think if you have your own project to work on, I learned so much just from doing that little blog, which has started to grow arms and legs now, which is actually started to monetize it now, which is nice. So yeah, I think every SEO should have something to work on and to play with and to break, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. We always say this, you only learn SEO by doing SEO.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut. You have to literally do it. Yeah. Otherwise, everything's just a blog and there's no context. There's no understanding of the brand that you're working on, the website that you're working on, the history behind it, etc. So yeah, you have to literally do it, understand different audiences, different processes that can help you. So yes, it's interesting that you are finding success in that side project, going up against the bigger brands. So that's big kudos to you for sure.
100%. Like upsetting them.
They've not contacted you or anything?
Not yet.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
No, that was great. And for listeners, if they want to get in touch with you and learn more about you, where can they find you?
Just LinkedIn, really. I like to be honest and open on LinkedIn. Don't take myself too seriously. Might offend some people, but probably not the person for you. Or you can find Contact Coffee, contactcoffee.com. Or if you want to read about how much a Costa is, then workingfromcoffeeshops.co.uk.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, guys, if you want to learn all things SEO for e-commerce, as well as understanding more about coffee, you now know where to find Luke. And if you got a ton of value from this episode, be sure to like and follow the podcast. But until the next episode, we shall see you next time. See ya.